What if I told you that one of the most powerful countries on Earth started as a rebellious group of farmers, merchants, and pamphlet writers who were angry about tea taxes? Not oil, not tech, not even freedom at first. But the story of the United States of America doesn't begin in 1776. It doesn't even begin in 1492. To understand America, we have to rewind thousands of years to a frozen bridge made of ice and survival. The first Americans, long before skyscrapers and smartphones, before Wall Street and the White House, the first people crossed a massive land bridge known as Beringia, connecting Siberia to Alaska during the Ice Age. For thousands of years, Paleo-Americans migrated south, spreading across North and South America. By the time glaciers melted and oceans swallowed the bridge, entire civilizations had taken root. Cultures like the Adena, the Mississippian, the Pueblo peoples, and the powerful Iroquois Confederacy weren't just surviving. They were building trade networks, agriculture systems, and political alliances. Fun fact, the Iroquois Confederacy influenced early American democratic ideas. So technically, some of the new government ideas were actually very old. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, Polynesian navigators settled what we now call Hawaii centuries later, creating a sophisticated island culture long before Western contact. America's foundation was already ancient before Europeans ever showed up. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed west looking for Asia and accidentally ran into a continent. Europe called it the New World. It was only new to them. Spain moved fast, building an empire from Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola. France claimed lands across Canada and Louisiana. Portugal secured Brazil. Then came England. In 1607, Jamestown became the first successful English colony in Virginia. Survival was brutal. Starvation, disease, conflict, but tobacco turned out to be liquid gold. By the 1700s, 13 colonies stretched along the eastern seaboard. Each had its own government structure, but all answered to Britain. And here's where things get interesting. No taxation without representation. How the colonies weren't obsessed with independence at first. They needed British protection. But after the French and Indian War, Britain was broke. War is expensive. So Parliament passed the Stamp Act in 1765. Taxes without colonial representation. The colonists basically said, "You want money? At least let us vote." Tensions escalated. In 1773, the Boston Tea Party exploded. Colonists dumped British tea into Boston Harbor. Imagine rage quitting an empire. Britain responded harshly. The colonies united. The First Continental Congress formed. Then the Second. And in 1776, they made a bold announcement: independence. The Declaration of Independence declared that the colonies were now free states. Not a suggestion, a declaration. The war lasted until 1783 against the most powerful military in the world. But at Saratoga, American forces scored a crucial victory, convincing France to join the fight. Spain and the Netherlands followed. Suddenly, Britain had a real problem. Under the leadership of George Washington, the Americans endured brutal winters and impossible odds. And somehow, they won. At the Peace of Paris in 1783, independence was officially recognized. A new nation was born, doubling in size overnight. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson made one of the greatest real estate deals in history, the Louisiana Purchase. For $15 million, the U.S. doubled its territory. That's about 4 cents per acre. Today, you can't buy a parking spot for that. Expansion continued westward, often violently displacing Native American nations. The doctrine of manifest destiny justified growth, but it came with heavy human costs that still echo today. The Civil War, by 1861, the country faced its greatest internal crisis. Slavery divided the nation. When Abraham Lincoln was elected, Southern states seceded. The Civil War began after shots were fired at Fort Sumter. 4 years, over 600,000 deaths. The Union prevailed. world. Slavery was abolished, but healing was slow. Reconstruction struggled, and racial injustice didn't disappear overnight. In fact, the fight for civil rights would define the next century. Industry, empire, and global power, the late 1800s, turned America into an industrial powerhouse. Railroads stitched the country together. Factories roared. In 1898, the Spanish-American War expanded U.S. influence overseas. The Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam came under American control. The U.S. was no longer just a nation. It was becoming a global player. World wars and superpower status. In World War I, America joined the Allies after German submarine attacks and diplomatic tensions. The 1920s boomed. Then came 1929. The Great Depression hit like an economic earthquake. Banks collapsed. Unemployment soared. Recovery was slow until another war reshaped everything. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. entered World War II. American troops fought in Europe and the Pacific. D-Day in 1944 helped turn the tide in Europe. In 1945, after atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the war ended. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as rival superpowers. The Cold War began. The Cold War era. The Cold War wasn't fought directly between the US and the USSR. Instead, it unfolded through proxy wars like Korea and Vietnam, nuclear arms races, and space competition. In 1969, Americans landed on the moon. Yes, during the Cold War, humanity decided to casually visit another celestial body. Meanwhile, at home, the civil rights movement pushed for voting rights and equal protection under the law. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. challenged the nation to live up to its own promises. The Cold War ended in 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union. America stood as the sole superpower, but history doesn't pause. The 21st century, on September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks reshaped American foreign policy. Wars in Afghanistan and Iraq followed. In 2008, the financial crisis triggered the worst recession since the Great Depression. Then came rapid technological acceleration. Silicon Valley companies reshaped communication, commerce, and even elections. By the 2020s, America faced new challenges. A global pandemic that exposed weaknesses in healthcare and supply chains. Political polarization reaching historic levels. Rising competition with China in technology and AI. Climate change debates intensifying. The growth of artificial intelligence transforming industries. In 2024 and into 2026, AI has become a central economic and political issue. Automation debates, data privacy. America is once again redefining its role in a shifting world order, from Beringia to blockchain, from muskets to microchips. The ongoing experiment. The United States has always been described as an experiment in democracy, an experiment in diversity, an experiment in ambition. It has expanded, fractured, rebuilt, innovated, and argued with itself constantly. Its history includes remarkable achievements and undeniable contradictions. It is a country born in rebellion that became a global authority, a nation built on ideals that it has continuously struggled to fully realize. And here we are in 2026, still debating, still evolving, still writing the next chapter, because the story of America isn't finished. It never is. Consider leaving a like and a simple subscription if the video impressed you. Thanks for watching.